And Don's training was rigorous, and we had to find ways to entertain ourselves. A Methodist church in the area sponsored a morning out program with babysitting for $1 a child. I learned to play bridge, decorate goose eggs, and decorate cakes. That was fun. I got so good at decorating cakes that my friend that went with me was asked to teach the advanced course, and she turned around and asked me to teach the beginner's course. I really enjoyed teaching adult women, and after 2 years we were expecting our second child, Spencer Reed, and he was born on October 30th, 1983. And we were able to move to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and this was nice, and it was provided by the hospital, and it was time to move. We had nothing to show for a purchase of a house. And my old friend, Jimmy Crowder, he calls home loans with 17% negative amortization. Never voted a Democrat again. We jumped right in with an old house built in 1854 on the Isle of Hope in Savannah. We spent 9 months restoring the old house, including moving it 30 feet from the road. And when we put it on its new foundation, those original wavy windows, which wouldn't open before, opened right up. And we were sure we'd be living in Savannah for a long, long time. Don had been asked to join the group he'd been training with, and life was good. But after 1 year, Don was asked to go to Statesboro, Georgia, and help improve the radiology department at Bullitt Memorial Hospital. In July '83, we moved to Statesboro. I cried the whole trip to Statesboro when we moved because I didn't think I'd be happy there because the town was so small. And I soon got over it. Don started flying, and his dream came true because he had a great instructor, and we joined a flying club, and we met some of the most wonderful people in Bullitt County. They were mostly farmers. And we bought a house in the county with 5 acres, including a pond, and we loved it. We had to do some renovating and decided to include a huge deck on the side of the house and a back around to the pool, complete with a tiki hut. Then one day I found I was pregnant with child number 3. Ainsley Nicole was born December 8th, 1985. I joined a garden club called Sprig and Dig. I entered the flower shows, which happened about every 2 years, to learn how to do flower arranging. I learned a lot, and one time I won first place. And at that time I'd been considered for Best in Show, but I lost due to a crease in my cloth background. That was the only thing they could decide on who got Best in Show and just a regular first place. I got a few other first places, but that one was the big one. So, and I belonged to that club for 33 years. We had a lot of family fun during the kids growing up. Chris entered a frog jumping contest at the country club, and he was 7. And he brought this frog in a shoebox. Actually, it was a boot box. And he was last in line to let his frog jump. And when he opened the box and picked up this huge bullfrog, everyone screamed, they ran, it was like a cartoon. The frog jumped 18 feet in 2 jumps, and he was on his way to the golf course. And it was obvious who won the frog jumping contest. But Chris had a friend who had accidentally stepped on his toe trying to get him to jump. And the poor kid was the surgeon's son. So, and Donna got quite good at flying. And once we flew out to a meeting in San Francisco in our plane, he flew. I drove to Rome and let Ainsley out with her grandparents because she's too young for the trip. And Don's dad drove us to Atlanta Airport, and first time kids had flown in a commercial plane, and we flew out to meet Dad in San Francisco. We toured the town, including Alcatraz and Golden Gate Bridge, and it was time to head home, but we flew south to San Diego and went to their zoo. And we got to meet that big white bird named King Tut. He lived to be 150 years old. We took a helicopter tour into the belly of the Grand Canyon. It was scary and fascinating. And we flew to El Paso, and then Dallas, and then back to Rome. Don let me out to drive me and Ainsley home, and he and the boys flew home. In '91, my world was rocked by discovering I had stage 2 breast cancer. My program included 6 months of chemo and 6 weeks of radiation. My hair fell out, and I wore hats with scarves because I was allergic to the undermaterial of the wigs I'd bought. Once a friend came to our door at the house, and I'm standing there just talking away, and then I cried, "Oh my goodness, I got nothing on my head." And he laughed and said it didn't bother him and not to let it bother me. I've always been heavy, but after the chemo and getting back to normal, I weighed 325 pounds. And I was miserable. So I had a gastric bypass and lost 90 pounds in the next 8 months. My weight has always been a problem for me, and it seems as much as I lose, it never seems to be enough. During this time, Don had already decided to leave Bullock Memorial Hospital and go out and build our own radiology department center, imaging center. $1.5 million in debt, Statesboro Imaging Center was born. It gave a new focus in our life besides the breast cancer treatment, and I was making decisions for flooring, lights, carpeting, wall colors, furniture choices for the waiting room. We had a ribbon cutting, and I was in charge of the office and the gals that worked for us in the office and paying the bills. Don made the big decisions on equipment and how much to spend and hiring his technical staff. We did everything. Mammography, fluoroscopy, nuclear medicine, plain film, ultrasound, CT, and MRI. Our life changed because there was no more night call or weekends to cover. Monday through Friday was just right normal. In 1996, Don bought a motorbike, and we enjoyed riding with friends and went several times to Oktoberfest in Daytona Beach, Florida. We would haul our bikes to St. Augustine, Florida, and then drive A1A to Daytona. It was so wonderful to ride that length and down the coast with friends. Our first son, Chris, graduated from Bullock Academy in 1997. He was valedictorian of his class, and with Hope Scholarship and his Governor's Honor Scholarship, he was ready to start his college life at the University of Georgia. He had taken college at Georgia Southern in the summers between grades at the academy, and he entered Georgia as a college sophomore. He never graduated as an underclassman because he was accepted into the pharmacy program early. He was also the first pharmacist at that time to graduate with a nuclear pharmacy certificate prior to graduating. Chris got married to classmate Christy Williams, and they were married in Statesboro in 2001. In 1999, our second son, Spencer Reed, graduated from Bullock Academy, and he went on to Gulfstream Training Academy to become a pilot. That was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He graduated in 2003 and began working for Delta Airlines commuter jets. Reed married a flight attendant named Natalie Johnson, and they were married at her home in Cocoa Beach, Florida in 2007. Our daughter, Ansley, graduated from Bullock Academy in 2003, but she entered Berry College in Rome, Georgia at 2002. She graduated from Berry in 2006 and now lives in Austin, Texas. She skipped her senior year. I'm not sure if that was a good idea, but we did anyway. We changed churches and joined First Presbyterian Church. We've been Methodist. I sang in the choir for 20 years. There's no other group in the church like the choir. It's a fun bunch, right? Don and I are ordained elders and served many years on session in this church. I went to Scotland with 29 other members of this church. Don stayed home to work and take care of the kids. My biggest regret to the trip that he didn't get to go. Then tragedy struck again, and Don's father dies from colon cancer at the age of 77. In 1999, Ansley was chosen to be an all-star cheerleader and got to go to walk in Disney's Thanksgiving parade. And Mom and daughter were in Orlando at Thanksgiving, and Don was home with the boys. In 2001, Don was giving me a surprise birthday party for my 50th birthday. My friends were so worried that I would find out what he was doing that they gave me other parties, and I just said party, party, party. And so then when the time came, I still was very, very surprised, and we had a big cake and had a band, and it was a lot of fun. Okay, I have packets of pictures. And this is packet 1, and it goes from 51 to 1972. So y'all look through those and pass them around, and I'm going to keep on talking. There are pictures about what I just talked about. In 2005, we bought a lot from David Eford, with David Eford's help, on Buffalo Shoals Road in Lake Lure. We purchased a Blue Ridge modular log cabin, and that was completed on the lot after 9 months, and we enjoyed long weekends and vacation weeks every chance we could get. And in 2006 and 2008, each of our 2 grandchildren were baptized under our tiki hut out on our deck after fun weekends of Fire Ant Blues Festival, which we held in our yard. It took my sisters and their husbands and other friends to help us put this fun event on. We cooked a whole hog and at least 12 fried turkeys because Don couldn't eat pork. A caterer brought baked beans, broccoli, slaw, tomatoes, bread, and banana pudding and tea. Invitations always said, barbecue as long as it lasted, bring your chairs and favorite beverage in your own cooler. I had to have porta potties, and I rented those great big lights so people could drive around on the back of our property and not end up in a pond. So, the event always started with our...
Nobody ever did. That was amazing.
The event always started with our family band. The little blue-haired ladies always loved to sit and wait. They'd come eat and then sit and wait for the family band, and then they'd leave. But Don, known as Big Daddy, well, I played his saxophone and his bass guitar. Chris played lead guitar, and Reed was our drummer. Ansley was the lead singer. They let me play the tambourine. Reed always said that Mama does her best with the tambourine when she's a little bit inebriated. And that was true. And I got to play flute with Don once on a saxophone duo. I tried singing, that wasn't my forte. Cleanup was half a day and a job that folks helped us often. Our best festival was the 10th year. It was said that we had anywhere from 500 to 800 people in our yard at any one time. Folks came in their motorhomes, their tents, and the town loved it because there was nothing else going on at the 1st of August in Statesboro, Georgia, and the hotels were full. We always turned off the music at midnight, and we always informed the police so if they had complaints, they could tell them that information. Our pool was full of folks, and the party went on many hours after Dawn and I went to bed. And it was a fun time for all, and we enjoyed it immensely. And here's packet 2. This is 1984 to 1999. Sadly, our oldest son, Chris, got divorced from his wife, Christy, but happily married Shanna Olson. She had a daughter and a son by her first marriage, and Chris had his 2 boys on weekends and all holidays and school was out, and then they had their own child, Joshua, and he was born May 31st, 2002. Then Reed got divorced after 12 years of marriage, and he now has a wonderful girlfriend named Sarah from Virginia. Sadly enough, wait a minute, am I through this thing already? Shouldn't be. Hang on, I think I turned too many pages. I might have skipped page 5. Yeah, I did. Okay. Back up. Yeah, I was right there. Okay, you're doing better than I thought we were. Okay. Anyway, sadly enough, the insurance companies started playing games with reimbursements, and we were advised to sell our imaging center, which we did in 2013. The hospital bought us out, and Don joined a new and upcoming group of radiologists that was to serve South Georgia hospitals. He helps Reed for 50 different facilities with some 30 or more radiologists from all over Georgia. We sold our Statesboro house, but before we could move, tragedy struck again, and my mother died at 89 years old. We moved to Rankin, Georgia to help our son Chris and his ex-wife sell a home they bought, which had been on the market for 8 years. I fixed it up from top to bottom, and $50,000 later, in 9 months it was ready. It sold 9 months later, and we moved to our wonderful cabin on Buffalo Shoals Road, which we built in 2005, and we permanently moved to Lake Lure in 2014. We finished the basement by adding a bedroom, living room, kitchen, laundry room, bathroom, and a reading room for Don to work via teleradiology. He works 2 weeks a month and has time to make his mini CDs. Okay. Somehow I missed some packets. Here's packet 3 and packet 4.
You gonna take?
Yeah.
It needs to go down there.
This is for y'all. I got very depressed after moving to Lake Lure because I did not have many friends and was in need of activities to do and keep me busy and happy. We visited the Episcopal Church of the Transfiguration on the advice of our friends David and Charlie Deford. They said it was wonderful to have a priest who could do a sermon that you could remember the whole week long. I was impressed. And I had met Wendy Fields before, and I was talking to her about what she liked about the church, and she said, quote, "I can call anyone in this church if I needed help and they would come." I said, what a recommendation. Then I met Jocelyn Watkins at church. She called herself my neighbor